Okay, let's unpack this. We've been handed a truly profound and I think intellectually rigorous stack of sources today.
Hmm.
They're delving into the deepest philosophical, even spiritual foundations of the Quran, specifically the nature of the Creator.
Yeah, and this is not a surface-level discussion at all. It kind of forces you into a realm of deep contemplation.
It really does. It's about confronting the absolute limits of, well, of human categories.
I think our mission here is pretty clear. We're trying to analyze the concept of absolute transcendence, or
Mm.
Tanzih.
Yeah.
And then you have to explore that seemingly paradoxical truth, that the divine has to be both utterly unique.
And yet somehow intimately present.
Exactly. Maintaining the entire cosmos, moment to moment. We're here to really try and understand the architecture of that reality.
That is the ultimate tension we're wrestling with, isn't it? How can something be absolutely incomparable and yet be the very foundation of everything we experience?
It's a massive intellectual challenge.
But the sources, they make it really clear that the whole structure rests on one single foundation.
Absolutely. The foundational concept, the bedrock from which everything else flows, is Tawhid,
The oneness of God.
the absolute oneness of God.
Mm.
And this concept, it elevates transcendence beyond just being, far away. It insists on absolute uniqueness, incomparability.
So the Creator can't share any characteristics or properties or limitations with creation.
None at all.
So let's jump right into how that uniqueness is actually declared. Our materials point us directly to Surah Al-Ikhlas. It's often called the Declaration of Singularity.
Hmm.
It says, say, He is God, the one and unique. God is absolutely independent. He begets not, nor is he begotten, and there is absolutely none like him.
That declaration is just a masterpiece of intellectual precision. I mean, when the sources emphasize Allah the unique, they're denoting an absolute singularity.
It's a rejection of any possible division or replication.
Exactly.
Okay.
It means that mathematically, philosophically, spiritually,
Mm.
God is singular, full
Yeah.
stop.
And the term as-sama, the self-sufficient, the independent, that provides the necessary reinforcement, doesn't it?
It does. It means God's existence is inherent. It's necessary. It is the ultimate ground of all being, and it's fundamentally dependent on absolutely nothing else.
Nothing in creation.
And the spiritual significance of recognizing that, of Asamad, is just tremendous for the human condition.
How so?
Well, if you recognize a truly self-sufficient being, it fundamentally changes your relationship with the world. It means that ultimately all of your dependencies, your deepest needs, they have to be directed toward that one singular source.
Because everything else is also dependent.
Everything else is dependent. It's like a systematic elimination of any potential competitors.
But what about that final sweeping statement? What's the philosophical weight of, there's absolutely none like him?
I think that is the core of Kanzi. It forces the human intellect to hit a categorical limit,
A hard stop.
a hard stop. Our minds, they operate entirely within the confines of creation. We think in terms of space, time, cause, effect, matter.
All our familiar mental categories.
Yeah. And that statement, it demands we acknowledge the utter failure of all of them when we approach the divine essence.
That denial of likeness, though, it seems like it could lead to total abstraction, leaving the divine completely unknowable.
And the sources are very careful about that.
Right, they maintain a connection. We see that necessary balance in Surah Ashura, which says, there is nothing like unto him, and he is the hearing, the seeing.
It's a beautiful piece of theology, really. It manages to affirm God's active involvement without ever compromising that uniqueness.
So the first half.
There is nothing like unto him that protects us from anthropomorphism, from trying to, squeeze the creator into human or physical molds.
To the second half.
Confirms that attributes like the hearing and the seeing are operative, but in a way that just transcends our sensory understanding.
So they're not physical acts.
No, they are perfect, transcendent realities of knowledge and control.
So the message is, the attributes are real and active, but don't even try to picture how.
Precisely. You understand the effect of the attributes in the world, but the mechanism itself belongs to transcendence.
Okay, so if the divine is defined by this absolute uniqueness existing beyond created limits like space or makan, time, zaman, and matter,
Oh, God, yeah.
how do the sources then describe how this utterly unique reality interacts with and governs the universe?
And that brings us to Ayat al-Kursi, the throne verse. Our sources treat this not as a geographic description, but as the ultimate intellectual statement on the systemic nature of the Creator.
So the reality of the divine, as described here, is defined entirely by non-arbitrary law and control.
Entirely. Let's focus on the heart of it. Al-Hayy, the ever-living, and Al-Qayyum, the sustainer.
The sources really emphasize that these have to be understood as continuous systemic forces, not as static qualities.
That's right. This is where the concept of systemic sustenance comes in.
What does that mean exactly, systemic sustenance?
Al-Qayyum means continuous dynamic governance. The creator is the active principle that ensures every single element of the cosmos.
From a seed germinating to light traveling across the universe.
All of it. It's maintained moment to moment through fixed, reliable, natural laws. The Sunnat Allah.
So if I'm trying to visualize that idea, is it like saying God isn't just the architect who built the house, but is the constant invisible energy flowing through the wiring and the foundation, preventing the universe from collapsing at any given microsecond?
That analogy captures the essence beautifully.
Yeah.
But the sources would argue it's even more intimate than that.
Okay.
If the system of laws paused, if that maintenance was interrupted for the smallest fraction of time, the entire structure of reality would just instantly dissolve.
Wow.
This constant sustainment is the very definition of Al-Qayyum.
And that famous metaphor from the verse, neither slumber nor sleep overtakes him.
Yeah.
That must be intended to just drive home the unceasing nature of this.
It emphasizes eternal vigilance. Slumber and sleep are limitations of created beings, right? We need rest. This statement affirms that the fundamental law of the universe, the whole system of cause and effect, is never suspended, never weakened, and it never operates through burdened or depleting energy.
So it's infinite, perfect, and unceasing.
The system is always on.
That's a profound shift in perspective. It redefines omnipotence not just as raw power, but as the perfection of an unwavering, tireless system.
Exactly.
Okay, so if we accept this idea of ceaseless maintenance, what does that imply about the nature of God's authority? Especially when Ayat al-Kursi talks about the throne, Kursi. I mean, even rationalist sources have to grapple with that word, don't they? Because throne immediately suggests a physical seat.
Oh, they absolutely address this tension. The rationalist interpretation insists the throne has to be entirely stripped of physical connotation.
Why?
Precisely because of Tanzih, because of that absolute uniqueness. So the throne, Kursi, is interpreted solely as supreme control, or sultan.
The totality of the creator's power and jurisdiction.
Yes. It's a conceptual metaphor for a total domain of control.
That makes a lot of sense. So when the text says this supreme control extends over the highs and the lows, that signifies omnipresent law, doesn't it?
It has to. It means his authority encompasses every single dimension.
Physical, moral, spiritual.
Exactly. There is no physical reality, no moral consequence, no spiritual dimension that falls outside the active force of the divine law.
And the perfection of the system guarantees the law is perfectly and actively enforced everywhere, all the time.
All the time. And this control is coupled with perfect knowledge. He knows what lies open before humans and what is hidden from them.
And how does that relate back to the idea of a non-arbitrary system?
Well, perfect omniscience is the guarantee of perfect justice. The system can only be truly non-arbitrary if the entire cosmic blueprint is known.
Every action, every thought, every potential consequence.
All of it. This ensures that the application of the law is absolutely precise, and it always transcends the limits of our space and time.
That leads us right to that critical clause on intercession, which is so often misunderstood. It says, "Who can intercede in his court except by his leave, and then only in accordance with his laws?"
That phrasing is absolutely essential for the systemic view. It categorically removes any possibility of emotional, personal, or, arbitrary mediation.
So no external spiritual figures who might try to change God's mind.
None.
Yeah.
All divine dealings are governed by unyielding principles of consequence and justice.
So if there is a form of permitted intercession, it's not because the rules are being bent.
No.
It's because the intercession itself perfectly aligns with an already established principle of the divine law.
It has to. It
Yeah.
just confirms that the absolute will operates through predictable, non-arbitrary laws that cannot fail. And this fundamentally changes how you understand your own actions.
Because you're always operating within a known just system of consequence.
Always.
This rigor and this definition of systemic law, it inevitably leads to acknowledging the limits of our own comprehension.
Yes, it does.
The sources introduce a sort of structural boundary between two distinct realms when they discuss the human inquiry into ruh, or revelation.
That verse is a pivotal moment in the rationalist methodology.
Yeah.
A messenger. They ask you about the Arot. Say, the revelation is from my Lord's world of command, of which you have been given little knowledge.
This is where we define the boundary of human understanding.
It is. We have the world of creation, or Khalq.
That's the realm we inhabit, the visible material universe, where time is sequential and things happen through cause and effect.
And this is where human knowledge, science is effective.
Right. And then there is the world of command, or Amr.
And that's the realm of the divine will. It's where intent translates into instantaneous, non-sequential reality.
The famous moment of kun fayakun be, and it is.
Exactly. And the Ruh is the organizing principle of life and revelation. It belongs there, in the world of Emr.
It sounds like the difference between a long, complex chain reaction, which is Khalq, and a light switch being instantaneously flipped, which is Amr.
That's a good way to put it.
So why is it a structural necessity that we have limited knowledge of Amr? Why the secrecy?
See, it's not arbitrary secrecy, it's a cognitive limitation. The human mind is sequential. It operates purely in the realm of Khalq.
We're just not equipped to process non-sequential reality.
We're not. Trying to grasp the instantaneous mechanism of Amr is like trying to use a two-dimensional map to navigate a four-dimensional space. It just doesn't work.
So we are given full comprehensive knowledge of the effects, the divine law, the consequences, the moral imperatives that govern Khalq, but the source of it all must remain conceptually beyond our grasp.
And this structural limitation serves a vital purpose. It fosters intellectual humility. If humanity were to somehow fully comprehend the mechanism of Amr, we would inevitably try to localize it, materialize it, categorize the divine source.
Try to replicate or control it.
Of course, and that act would immediately violate the absolute transcendence of the creator. It would reduce the unique source to just another created entity.
This beautifully brings us right back to that profound duality that the sources have to resolve. The creator is absolutely transcendent, utterly beyond creation, yet is described as being intimately present within it. We've defined transcendence as exemption from space and time.
And now we define immanence. And this is a crucial distinction. Immanence is not physical presence.
Okay, that's key.
It is the perfection of omnipresent knowledge and control. When the source says, quote, and we are closer to him than his jugular vein, we have to avoid the physical interpretation.
So, if it's not physical proximity, what kind of relationship is that jugular vein metaphor describing?
It's a statement about foundational dependence in knowledge. I mean, the jugular vein is the most immediate, vital, physical conduit for life.
Sure.
The statement means that the Creator's law and knowledge are more fundamental and more intimate to a person's consciousness, their existence, their moment-to-moment survival, than their own biology.
Wow.
You're sustained by his law of consequence, and nothing, not even the most private intention, escapes the immediate jurisdiction of this system.
And we apply that same logic to the famous declaration about location. He is with you wherever you are.
It's an assurance of continuity and a promise of justice. It means you can't escape the reach of the divine system of law, the Sunnat Allah.
So there's no physical or temporal location where the consequences of your actions don't apply.
None. The established mechanism of cause and effect is actively with you everywhere you go.
So to synthesize this, the apparent paradox, it just dissolves into a logical framework.
It does.
Transcendence is the source of the law.
And immanence is the absolute application of the law.
That is the definitive synthesis.
It is. The Creator is beyond space and time, but his control, his sultan and his knowledge are active, perfect, and unconstrained in every space and every time, maintaining continuous sustenance without any need for localized intervention or arbitrary action.
This has been a deeply, deeply contemplative deep dive. We've established that the intellectual achievement laid out in these sources defines the Creator as utterly unique, non-localized, and upholding the cosmos through unwavering systemic law.
And the resulting relationship that fosters is one defined by intellectual awe, and I think a necessity for humility in the face of the incomprehensible source. It encourages submission to a system understood as perfect, just, and entirely non-arbitrary. It is the structure of existence where moral and physical cause and effect are, well, they're seamless.
And that submission to systemic, non-arbitrary law, it raises a truly provocative thought for you to carry forward, something to explore on your own.
Yeah.
If the divine is fundamentally defined by eternal, non-localized systemic law and not by impulsive arbitrary intervention, how does this profound rationalist understanding of Al-Qayyum the Sustainer change the way you approach scientific inquiry, ethical accountability, and the very idea of hope within a seamlessly and perfectly governed cosmic system?
It really asks us to look at the universe not as chaos, but as the perfect, predictable, and tireless manifestation of a perfect will.
Something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.